In this video, I want to talk directly to you, those of us who've crossed 60 or 65 and are learning what life feels like on the other side of busy. For decades, we were the ones holding everything together, raising children, paying bills, showing up every day no matter how tired we were. And then one day, the pace slowed. The meetings stopped. The phone got quieter. Suddenly, we were left with something we hadn't had in years: time. And for many of us, that quiet brings a big question: what now? So in this video, I'll be sharing 10 simple but powerful life lessons that have made my later years softer, freer, and more fulfilling. Lessons about letting go of anger, laughing more often, moving gently, and staying curious. Each one comes from real experiences, moments that changed how I see life after 65. Before we start, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Just drop your state or city in the comments below. It helps us feel like one community here, learning together and supporting one another. Lesson 1: Forgive so you can be free. You know, forgiveness isn't something we think about much when we're younger. We're too busy proving a point, standing our ground, or waiting for the other person to make the first move. But as we get older, life quietly shows us, holding on to anger only hurts us. It doesn't make us stronger, it just makes our hearts heavier. I learned this the hard way. For years, I carried resentment towards someone close to me, someone I once loved deeply. I thought I'd buried it, but it was still there, quietly stealing my peace. Every time I thought of them, I'd feel that same sting, that same old frustration. And then one day, I realized how much time I had lost carrying it. All those years I could have spent laughing, connecting, or simply being at peace, gone. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It doesn't mean you forget. It means you decide to stop letting it poison your heart. Nelson Mandela once said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." Those words changed how I saw everything. Because it's true, the longer we hold on to anger, the more it eats away at our joy. So if there's someone you still think about with pain, maybe a sibling, an old friend, even a parent, try to release it. Not for them, but for yourself. Write a letter, say a prayer, whisper their name and let go. It's not about being weak, it's about freeing your heart from what no longer serves you. Lesson 2: Laugh often, especially at yourself. Somewhere along the way, people started believing that getting older means becoming serious. But I've learned that laughter is what keeps us alive, truly alive. It's what softens the sharp edges of aging, and reminds us that joy doesn't disappear with time, it just changes shape. I remember one morning when I walked into the kitchen wearing my shirt backward. My granddaughter looked at me and burst out laughing. "Grandpa," she said, "are you starting a new fashion trend?" Without missing a beat, I told her, "Yes, it's called senior casual." We both laughed until we couldn't breathe. That moment didn't just make my day, it reminded me that I'm still allowed to be silly. When we laugh at ourselves, we stop pretending to be perfect. And that's such a relief, isn't it? Betty White once said, "Laughter keeps everyone feeling wonderful," and she lived by it right into her 90s. She didn't hide her age, she made fun of it, she embraced it, and she let humor carry her through. That's real wisdom. I've started laughing at all the little things now. When I lose my glasses, usually while they're still on my head. When I forget why I walked into a room. When my knees crack like popcorn. Those moments used to frustrate me. Now, they make me smile. Because each one reminds me I'm still here, still living, still human. Laughter doesn't erase pain, but it lightens the load. It turns ordinary days into moments of connection. So don't hold back your laugh. Let it echo. Laugh at your mix-ups, your forgetfulness, your funny mistakes. Because the truth is, a day with laughter is a day you've truly lived. Lesson 3: Make peace with the past. As the years go by, our memories become softer, but some of them still carry a quiet ache. Not all regrets shout, some just sit silently in the back of our hearts, whispering what we wish we had done differently. Maybe you understand that feeling. Maybe you think about a time you were too strict with your children, or a friend you drifted away from, or a chance you didn't take because life was just too busy back then. For a long time, I carried that kind of regret too. I used to replay certain moments in my head and wonder, did I do enough? Was I the kind of parent, partner, or friend I wanted to be? It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we finally have time to look back. But then I came across something Maya Angelou once said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Those words gave me peace. They reminded me that we were all just doing our best with what we knew at the time. When I finally accepted that truth, something in me softened. I called my daughter and told her I was sorry for the times I was impatient or distracted. She said, "Dad, you were never perfect, but you were always there." That moment didn't erase the past, it healed it. If you're carrying old guilt or what-ifs, maybe it's time to put them down. Forgive yourself for not knowing what you couldn't have known back then. You've grown, you've learned, and that's what matters. Peace with the past isn't about forgetting, it's about understanding. It's giving yourself permission to love the person you were, because that person made you who you are today. Lesson 4, keep moving gently, but daily. When we're young, movement comes without thought. We run, we climb, we rush, and our bodies keep up without complaint. But as the years pass, something changes. Stairs feel steeper, our backs talk back, and getting out of a chair becomes a small event of its own. I used to ignore that. I told myself I was just tired, that rest was what I needed most. But the truth is, the less I moved, the older I felt. Then one day, I watched a clip of Jane Fonda, graceful and strong, moving through light stretches in her 80s. She said, "It's not about staying young. It's about staying connected to your body." That struck me deeply, deeply. I realized I didn't want to compete with my younger self, I just wanted to feel alive again. So I began small. A short walk to the end of the block. A few gentle stretches in the morning. Some days, I'd dance a little in the kitchen while waiting for my coffee to brew. Those small movements changed everything. My mood lifted, my energy returned, and I started noticing things again, the sky, the smell of fresh air, the sound of birds. Moving wasn't just exercise anymore. It became a way of saying to my body, I still care about you. Take slow walks, stretch your arms, roll your shoulders, move with kindness. The goal isn't speed or strength, it's connection. Because every gentle step, every stretch, every breath reminds your body and your spirit that you're still here, still capable, and still very much alive. Lesson 5, stay curious. You know, curiosity isn't just for the young, it's what keeps the mind and soul alive at any age. When we stop asking questions or trying new things, life starts to feel smaller. But when we stay curious, the world around us stays bright and full of wonder. I learned this the day my daughter gave me a telescope for my 71st birthday. I laughed at first, I thought, I'm too old to learn this stuff. But that night, I set it up in the backyard and pointed it at the sky. When I saw Saturn and its rings for the first time, I just stood there in silence. That feeling of awe, it was like being a child again. That moment reminded me of something Carl Sagan once said, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. He was right. Curiosity is not just about knowledge, it's about wonder, about staying connected to something bigger than ourselves. After that night, I started learning again. I took an online class on astronomy, watched art history videos, even learned how to bake bread. I didn't do it to prove anything, I did it to feel alive. Sometimes I ask my grandkids to teach me things from their world, their apps, their games, their music. And you know what? They light up when they see me trying. Staying curious keeps me connected, not just to life, but to them. So, don't be afraid to try new things. Pick up a hobby, read something unfamiliar, or simply ask questions again. Curiosity doesn't fade with age unless we let it. It keeps the brain active, the heart open, and the spirit young. You're never too old to be amazed. The world still has so much left to show you, if you keep looking. Lesson 6. Give what you've lived. After retirement, many of us start to wonder if the world still needs us. The routine is gone, the phone doesn't ring as often, and it's easy to feel invisible. I went through that too, those quiet mornings when you sit with your coffee and think, what's my purpose now? It can be unsettling, especially after a lifetime of being useful to others. But one day, I realized something powerful. I may not have a full-time job anymore, but I still have a lifetime of experience, and that's worth sharing. I remember watching an old episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Fred Rogers said, anyone who has ever sustained good work has had at least one person who believed in them. That line stayed with me. I thought, maybe now it's my turn to be that person for someone else. So I started volunteering at the local library, reading stories to a group of third graders. At first, I thought I was just helping them read, but soon they began asking questions about life, about fear, about growing up. That's when I realized, they didn't just need stories, they needed presence. Giving what you've lived doesn't require money or a title. It just takes time, patience, and heart. You've lived through joy and pain, mistakes and miracles, and those lessons can light the way for someone else. Maybe it's mentoring a young person, helping at church, or just listening to someone who needs to be heard. Don't underestimate the quiet power of your story. When you share what you've lived, you remind others, and yourself, that you still matter. The world still needs your wisdom, your kindness, and your voice. You may have retired from work, but you have not retired from purpose. Lesson 7. Embrace the ordinary moments. For most of my life, I thought happiness was hiding inside big achievements, new jobs, family milestones, vacations, celebrations. And yes, those moments were wonderful. But after I retired, when the calendar grew quiet and the days slowed down, I realized something important. Joy doesn't only live in big moments. It lives in the small, ordinary ones, the ones we often overlook. One morning, I was sitting by the kitchen window with a cup of coffee when the sunlight came in just right, soft, golden, warm. I felt peaceful in a way I hadn't in years. No noise, no rush, just me in that moment. And I thought, this is what contentment feels like. Not excitement, not achievement, just quiet appreciation. It reminded me of Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, who still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. He eats at the same diner, drives his old car, and finds joy in reading alone. That's when it hit me, wealth isn't about having more. It's about noticing more. So, I started paying attention to the small things, the sound of rain tapping against the window, the smell of fresh laundry, my dog following me from room to room, my wife humming while folding clothes. These moments don't make headlines, but they fill the heart. When we're younger, we chase after big dreams. But as we grow older, we realize the real treasure was always in the quiet corners of our everyday lives. Happiness doesn't need fireworks, it just needs awareness. So slow down, take a breath, and notice what's already around you. Sometimes the smallest things, a cup of tea, a warm breeze, a shared smile, turn out to be the biggest blessings. Lesson 8. Stay connected to community. When I first stopped working, I thought I'd enjoy the quiet, no deadlines, no meetings, no constant calls. And for a while, it felt nice. But slowly, the silence became heavy. I realized I could go days without truly talking to anyone, except maybe the cashier at the grocery store. It wasn't loneliness I felt at first, it was something deeper, a quiet kind of emptiness that comes when you start to drift away from people. Then one morning, I saw a news story about Jimmy Carter, well into his 90s, still out there. Building homes with Habitat for Humanity. He said something that stayed with me: you don't have to be president to serve your community. You just have to care. Those words pushed me to act. So, I joined a local community garden. At first, I didn't know a thing about planting, but I figured I could at least pull weeds and meet a few people. That garden changed everything. I met Dan, a retired teacher, and Mary, who brings fresh lemonade every Saturday. We talk about music, weather, grandchildren, simple things. But that small patch of soil gave me something bigger: connection. It reminded me that belonging doesn't have an expiration date. Being part of a community keeps your spirit alive. It doesn't matter if it's a church group, a book club, a senior center, or just meeting your neighbors for coffee. What matters is showing up, being seen, and letting others be seen too. Lesson 9: Practice gentle gratitude. Gratitude is something most of us talk about but rarely feel deeply until later in life. When we're young, we're too busy chasing goals: the next job, the next home, the next success. But as the years pass, something shifts. We begin to realize that joy isn't about getting more, it's about noticing what we already have. For most of my life, I said thank you out of habit, after a meal, after a favor. But real gratitude came to me slowly, in the quiet moments. It started when I heard Oprah Winfrey say, "Be thankful for what you have, and you'll end up having more." So, I began a small practice. Every night before bed, I'd write down 3 things I was grateful for. At first, it was simple: family, health, a roof over my head. But soon, I started noticing the smaller details: the warmth of sunlight through the curtains, the smile from a stranger, the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. And something beautiful happened: my days started to feel lighter. Gratitude changed how I saw everything. Even difficult moments carried meaning. A problem became a lesson. A delay became a pause I needed. A normal day became a blessing. You don't need a notebook or fancy routine. Just whisper a thank you in your heart, for your body that's carried you this far, for the people who still call, for the morning light that greets you each day. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it transforms how we carry it. When you wake up tomorrow, take a deep breath and simply say, "Thank you." Not because everything is perfect, but because you're still here, still breathing, still able to love, learn, and notice life's quiet gifts. That's more than enough. Lesson 10: Remember that time is precious, and so are you. As we get older, time begins to look different. When we were young, the days felt endless. We rushed from one thing to another, certain that tomorrow would always be there. But somewhere along the way, we start to notice the mornings arrive a little quieter, and the years pass a little faster. That's when it truly hits us: time is not something to be chased, it's something to be cherished. These days, I wake up early just to watch the sunrise. There's a peace in those first few minutes of the day that words can't describe: the soft light, the sound of a bird, the stillness before the world wakes up. That small ritual reminds me that every single day is a gift. Not one of us knows how many we'll get, but each one gives us another chance to be kind, to love, to forgive, to simply be here. I once heard David Attenborough say, "Cherish the natural world because you are part of it." That line changed how I see everything, not just nature, but life itself. We are not separate from the world, we belong to it. And our time here, however long or short, is sacred. So don't wait for special occasions to live fully. Call the friend you miss. Light the candle just because. Eat the dessert. Sit in the sun. Tell people you love them. These are not small things, they are the moments that make life meaningful. And always remember, you are not behind. You are not done. You are still here, and that means life still has something beautiful for you. Time is precious, yes. But so are you. And so, here we are, 10 gentle lessons from a life that's still unfolding. If there's one thing I've learned after turning 65, it's that growing older isn't about fading away. It's about becoming more real, more honest, and more at peace with who we are. These years aren't the end of the story, they're the beginning of a softer, wiser chapter. If any part of what I shared today spoke to your heart, I hope you'll pass it along, maybe to a friend, maybe to a grandchild, or maybe just keep it close for yourself. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which of these lessons touched you the most? Because this, right here, this sharing, this listening, this remembering together, is what keeps us connected. You are still growing. You are still learning. And you are still exactly where you need to be. Take your time. Take it gently. And never forget, you still matter more than you know.